Suddenly the strength of the attack diminished, and the tall man opened his squinted blue eyes wide. He seemed to realize that someone had stopped his attack, and it looked as if he knew his counterpart. This reaction was the healer's luck, because he would not have been able to maintain his defense for a second longer. Cheyenne had already noticed that his legs were giving way under the weight of the double-bladed blow, and if that had happened, the enemy would have had an easy time. He would then kill her and possibly also her protector. But luckily it didn't come to that. Glaczio used his only chance to his advantage. His ice sword suddenly began to glow enormously bright blue and had become a lot colder again, as more cool air sank to the ground than before. The blade seemed to be more powerful now, and the healer managed to completely repel the attack of the blue-haired, seemingly baffled man. Has he transferred some of this power to his sword, or why is it so strong all of a sudden? Was this an elemental attack from the ice weapon triggered by mental power transfer? This is quite possible, because unlike Sasha's pistol, the sword does not have a controller with which you can switch between attacks. If I ever have an elemental sword, they will probably explain it to me. I'd like to know earlier, but I really don't want to ask Glaczio at the moment whether my assumptions are correct. He may have defended me now for some reason, but I'm sure he's still in the same mood as he was yesterday. Cheyenne hurried to get up, then grabbed her bow and unfolded it ready for battle. As she did so, the enemy's voice sounded again, but this time not calmly, but angrily. "You miserable traitor!" He stood about 2 meters away from her, and the girl saw that he was staring at Glaczio in anger. The enemy's body radiated pure anger, but the girl could also see sadness in his eyes. This man, what is it about him? Aren't anger and grief actually contradictory? And why did he feel sorry for me when he actually wanted to kill me? Either this guy is just weird or he has a really hard life. Glaczio tilted his head, looked at the enemy, and asked him a question in his usual unimpressed and arrogant way. Should I know you from somewhere? The man clenched his free hand into a fist and gritted his teeth in a rage. Cheyenne feared that the healer had overdone it and that this statement could have disastrous consequences. The enemy was already raising the double blade again, whose calm water had meanwhile turned into stormy waves, and was about to attack with all his strength, which was now also strengthened by his rage. I know that Glaczio can fight really well, but maybe he underestimates this opponent. The knights he has defended me against so far were nothing compared to this man. He might still be able to cope with the strength. After all, he can dodge really quickly, well, and even elegantly, but I don't really know if this strategy can work with the guy. The double blade is huge and it must be really hard to dodge. Why did this idiot provoke the man? And why does one of our enemies know him again? Cheyenne was annoyed with the healer, but he just stood there calmly, didn't prepare for an attack, and seemed to be waiting. She didn't understand what he was up to. But then she heard footprints in the sand that were quickly getting closer. The girl looked around for the sound and discovered Sasha, who came running to her and stood next to her. Glaczio put away the ice sword, closed his eyes and crossed his arms. For a few seconds he remained in this unimpressed disinterest and dismissive attitude. Cheyenne wondered what he was up to. But then it slowly dawned on her when Adukas, who had picked himself up and seemed to be unharmed, came to her and growled menacingly. The enemy took a step back, for it was now 4 against 1. So that's what Glaczio was up to. It was his plan to wait for Sasha and Adukas, because he knew exactly that this man would think twice about attacking us again or not, because we are definitely in the majority. The healer's intelligence still left Cheyenne speechless. In the meantime, the tall man was steadily retreating and was about to flee. We will meet again, Chosen One, and then I'll make sure that no one protects you anymore. Then the enemy fled in the direction of Saralay, but he seemed to have problems walking because he was not very fast and limped from time to time. Nevertheless, his last words crept coldly down the girl's spine and frightened. Sasha did not want to accept the attacker's escape and aimed the pistol at him. "No, you can't escape me. I prefer dead enemies to living ones, especially when they look like they belong to the rulers among the knights." Despite all that the enemy had said and done, Cheyenne did not agree with her friend's plan. After all, the man had taken pity on her and seemed to have doubted his plan very much. Because of this, she wasn't even so sure if he was actually one of the knights. The enemy had also promised her a reunion. If their paths crossed again, she would try to overcome her fear not to die in the process and hope to find out more about him. The blue-haired man was a very strong opponent, and if he really doubted himself and his actions, it would be possible that the girl could convince him to change sides, because she would rather see him with the shadow servants so that she wouldn't have to fight him again. His strength was breathtaking, and he was a very serious and dangerous opponent. They would have a huge advantage over the knights if he joined one of the clans and was their ally. Cheyenne would only have to be convincing enough and survive until she had persuaded him. That's very easy. I'll make it. Oh, I'm so dead if I try to do that. But I just have to try. If the shadow servants had him on their side, they could hold their own better against the knighthood. But if he's a knight, it's going to be really hard to convince him. He has called me the Chosen One. Well, I don't know for sure if that's really me, but even if I should be, maybe I can evade my tasks in this way by simply finding strong people for the Shadow Servants, and thus they will surely win the war and everything will be fine. It is also in my interest that the knights are defeated, so this would be a possibility. But on the other hand, the clans could also do this on their own. To get new members, you don't necessarily need the help of someone who seems to have been blessed by some goddess. That would happen automatically over time anyway if the knights continue like this. Cheyenne sighed and shook her head to put an end to her train of thought, because Sasha was about to shoot at the man running away. The girl turned to her friend, but before she could say anything, the gun was lowered. Glaczio had stepped next to Sasha and held her hand with the pistol to the ground. He looked after the fugitive and justified his action. "Hey, Sasha Mouse, keep it easy. Although you always look so damn sexy when you kill, I think in this case I could do without this breathtaking sight for once. If you were to use your mind instead of your instinct for a change, you might be able to see that this guy is not a ruler. He wore neither a cape nor any special armor, and did not carry any troops with him. Nor can he belong to the knights. They are not allowed to possess elemental weapons, so that the rulers can distinguish themselves from them in power and strength. A decidedly useless demand. What I can imagine as very likely, however, is that he is an outsider, but who is still on the side of the knights. He could also be a mercenary, because whoever kills the Chosen of Darkness first gets a huge reward from the Knighthood of Light. Besides, this guy didn't even know what he was doing and was apparently quite desperate. Baby, you should feel sorry for the old man, not shoot him just like that. Take a closer look at it. He even limps. I think he has already received his punishment, enough for many more sins that he will commit. Since all these reasons are guaranteed not to satisfy you, I want to give you another one. You have incredibly good instincts, so you should feel that somehow it doesn't seem wise to kill him. He could still turn out to be useful, don't you think? Anyway. Yes. As for you, my angel of death, the next time someone attacks you, you don't play the scaredy cat anymore and do something. I don't want to protect you all the time anymore. Behave like the Chosen and fight. Yesterday you weren't so squeamish either. So what's your problem? Who is afraid is weak, do you know that? Especially if you're chosen. You're a disgrace. The gods must be crazy or enormously stupid if they have chosen you of all people. You will never be able to save this world from the sinister plans of the Knights of Light. It's really sad that they chose you. I wish we had never crossed paths, then at least I would have been spared this misery." Cheyenne lowered her head. She was shocked by his words. She tried with all of her might to fight the tears, but she couldn't do it, and a few rolled down her cheeks to the ground, where they were clearly visible in the sand. The girl hadn't expected him to finish her off like that. On the contrary, she had hoped that his behavior would be a little better today, just as the wound on his face had almost healed and disappeared. But apparently she had been terribly mistaken. Arukas nudged his owner, but when he realized that it didn't help, he bared his teeth and growled at Glaczio. The latter did not deign to look at the fairy wolf and looked after the man. Sasha stood there and seemed shocked and incredulous about what her old acquaintance had just said to her friend. She freed her hand from the healer's grip with the pistol and gave him a strong slap in the face. Then she took a step back, holding her gun in his face. The young woman trembled with anger and wouldn't think twice before doing something that couldn't be undone. She almost couldn't find words, she was so horrified, angry, and speechless. But then she made a threat that was more of a death sentence. How can you? How dare you make her cry? Why do you say such things? You're such a miserable bastard. I can't find words for it anymore. I warned you. If you ever hurt Cheyenne in any way, you forfeited your life, and now it's time. I don't watch it anymore. Not Cheyenne, but you are the shame here. My life will soon be enriched by so much when you are no longer alive. Say goodbye. Sasha loaded her gun and was ready to fire the fatal shot at any time. Glaczio, however, stood in front of her and didn't move an inch. Only his beautiful light blue hair played in the wind. He looked at the young woman with half-open eyes and showed no emotion. He didn't seem to care that she was about to kill him. The wind became stronger and you could hear big waves breaking in the sea. The air tasted salty and the glow of the chroma stars became stronger and stronger. Seagulls croaked in the distance and the two horses snorted nervously. Cheyenne stood there and had to watch as Sasha was about to steal Glacio's life without rethinking everything. A few tears steadily found their way down her cheeks to the floor, but she didn't sob and breathed normally. The girl didn't even know what had hurt her more. The fact that someone with whom she had traveled a lot, who had helped her so much and was always so kind to her, and whom she had once trusted, told her that she was a disgrace, or was the reason why she cried that in her eyes everything he had accused her of was actually true? Cheyenne now hated the healer deeply. Even though he had told the truth for a change, she could feel that he wanted to hurt her on purpose, but the girl just didn't understand. Why had he become so mean? Now she hadn't even tried to talk to him and he's playing so badly with her. How could she have been so mistaken about Glaczio? She should have known that he was only pretending to be so friendly to her. But even if Cheyenne wouldn't mind Sasha extinguishing his life anymore, she didn't want to see someone die again. She planned to take him all the way to Vacorales, because out here the chances of survival were pretty slim, but once they reached the village, they would part ways forever. The girl hoped that she would never have to see Glaczio again after that. Cheyenne stepped in front of the healer and looked at Sasha sadly. Her friend didn't seem to understand, so she gave her an explanation. "Please don't kill him, Sasha. I don't want to see blood again. We'll take him to Vacorales and then we'll send him away, yes? He has saved my life too many times for me to allow you to kill him because of me. I'm sorry." The young woman sighed, slowly lowered the gun and put it away, back into the holder. Then she turned and went to the horses. Cheyenne turned to Glaczio, who didn't dare to look at her anymore. "I think now we're even. I don't want your company and help anymore. I'm sorry that everything turned out this way. Forgive me. I know I'm not a good chosen one." She couldn't bring herself to say more and ran with Arukas to Sasha. When she arrived at her friend, she hugged Cheyenne tightly and wiped a few tears off her cheeks. Then she helped the girl onto the horse and gave the big animal a slap so that it slowly started moving. This probably meant that the young woman shared her horse with the healer. Cheyenne was relieved when it actually happened. She wouldn't have been able to stand having him so close to her now. Arukas ran ahead and the small group galloped towards the beach village of Vacorales.